Thank you. Good morning to all and welcome to the May 7th, 2021 Linville Land Harbor POA Board of Directors meeting. At this time, I would ask Mark Solomon to lead us in invocation.
God of wisdom, we seek your help today. Come and let your wisdom fall upon us, O Lord, as we gather for this meeting. Give us clarity so that we can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda. Reveal problem areas and show us the best solutions that will apply. Point our eyes to every positive outcome since our last meeting, and let these favorable results and developments encourage every heart in this room. Dear God, help us apply your wisdom as we decide on certain matters and make plans. We pray that you would comfort those in our community that are suffering and struggling, and continue to bless our police officers like those brave officers in Boone, and our soldiers that protected and protect our country. This we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mike Bochner.
Thank you, Waylon. I direct your attention to the flag behind Grace. Please stand. I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we have some changes to the agenda before we proceed. If you will look at number 10 or XB and 10B1, that's on page 3 of your agenda. We want to move that up to item number 2 on the agenda. Okay. We want to, on page 3, we want to add under, which is now number 11, XI, we need A1 is a charter for the cable service here in Land Harbor. Also add under the same item a C, which is a fishing committee members. Under the same item, D, which is a landing reservation policy. And on page 2, no, take that back. Page 1, under committees, item F, change that to read results of the executive session. Scott? Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. Also, Waylon, we're going to remove number XC. We're going to table it, correct?
We can either remove it now, Scott, or we can table it when it comes up. Your choice.
Okay. Let's just go ahead and remove it now, if you would, please.
Okay. All right. Everybody follow that under
Whalen,
Yes,
that will make the fishing committee members and the landing reservation topic move up one ladder, I believe, when we remove the watercraft.
all right, yeah, let me find it here.
It'll be the new
right.
11,
Right,
new 11B and new 11C, I believe.
right. So the fishing committee will be B. The landing reservation will be C. And we have removed the request for the landing craft, watercraft. If everybody has got that, we will need a motion to approve the agenda. Grace, a motion to approve. Mark has a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we need to discuss creating the committee to study the racket club tennis pickleball issue. Grace?
I'd like to make a motion that we form an ad hoc committee titled the Racket Club Solutions Ad Hoc Committee.
Second for that motion. Great, Ruth Ann, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Now we need a motion to approve the charter for that committee. Does everybody have a copy of that charter that Scott forwarded?
Waylon, I would like to make a motion that we accept the charter for this ad hoc committee.
Ruth Ann made the motion. Do we have a second? Bill Scarange seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. I have you have an error, if you pardon me for being so blunt.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Number of members, 7 members consisting of a neutral chairperson and 6 RCC members. It's not supposed to be RCC members, it's supposed to be RC members. I thought we agreed that the Racket Club Committee would not have any members on this. And the members that we were given are non-Racket Club Committee members. So that's just a typo. That second C needs to be removed.
Walter, you're absolutely correct. That's the 1, 2, 3, the 4th paragraph should say 6 Racket Club members, not Racket Club Committee members.
Thank you.
Just scratch out that second C. Thank you for
I'll
catching
take
that.
responsibility for that. I'm sorry. I'm speaking out of order, but I did that. My apology.
Dan?
Yeah, I've got a question about neutral chairperson. Is that someone from the board, from our board?
No, that will be an independent, outside individual, yet to be named. We had one selected, but they chose not to take the committee on. So we will name someone here within a week for the chairperson. It will not be a board member. It'll be a neutral outside person.
Why have we chosen to take that route? It seemed to me that the purpose of the ad hoc committee was to get the board involved and listening to the concerns of both sides. If we don't have a board member on this committee, or at least present for the meetings, then we go back to secondhand information rather than us having a member there to listen and respond and be a part of. So I think we're avoiding part of our original purpose if we don't have a board member attached to this committee.
The reason we did it that way, Jan, was because of the issue of our January special meeting. The board decided not to take any action. So we wanted to be completely isolated from what the 3 members from each group and the chairperson decided, and allow that chairperson to respond to the board with the information provided.
I just feel like isolating us from the issue is removing us from our original purpose. If we don't hear what the concerns are and watch the discussion, and there's a big difference in hearing something secondhand or actually being there for the discussion and possibly responding to it. And I'm not sure that we get the best feel for the needs of both sides if we don't have somebody, at least maybe you've got somebody who's a neutral chairperson, but a board member who is in attendance to therefore.
Yeah, well, you make a good point, Jan. We could definitely assign a liaison to that committee if the board so chooses.
Okay.
And we can add that to the charter before we approve the charter.
I would think that's the very least we want to do in order to keep close tabs on, because over the last year, we've heard a lot, but it's always secondhand and we're never quite sure how to respond to it. If we had somebody actually listening in and being a part of the, I don't know that we want to be a part of the discussion maybe, but
Right. We got to remember that liaisons are not part of the discussion unless asked by the chairperson. Any other comments or suggestions from other board members? Roseanne?
I think we do. I just assumed we would have a board liaison. I thought most committees do have a board liaison. So I think that's a good idea to have one person on the board to come back and bring the information.
Okay, we can do that. We can select the members for the committee, and then we'll appoint a board liaison to sit in on the meetings. Bill?
I was just gonna say, I would hope we'd have a monthly report from the liaison as to what's going on with the committee.
Exactly. Okay, so we can approve the committee, and when we get to the charter, we will add a liaison to be appointed to the committee. All in favor of the committee? Unanimous? Now the charter for the committee. Everybody's got a copy of it. The only addition will be that a liaison will be appointed to attend the meetings and report to the board as to the progress of that committee. Do I have a Grace?
And remove the committee, the extra C on RCC. It'll be Racket Club
Correct.
member.
Correct.
Waylon, I think did I not already make a motion that we accept this? So we need to amend the motion?
Yeah, I backed up one. Right. You're right. Would you like to amend your motion, Ruth Ann?
I would like to amend my motion to remove the C and to add a board liaison to the charter.
Get a second? Mark?
I want to just a point of clarification here. So when the board member, whoever we assign to that, reports, I would suggest also you have somebody from this ad hoc committee there as well. So conversely, they have someone to hear what the board member reports.
Yeah, in the charter, the chairperson, the chairman will also be reporting to the board.
Okay, just as long as we got that.
All right, we already have a second for her motion. All in favor of accepting this as a charter with the changes made by Ruth Ann? It's unanimous. Thank you. Now it's time to go into executive session. So I have a motion to go into executive session. Tommy Oakley, second by Jan. Thank you. We're ready to go into
We're live.
thank you, Amy, and welcome back to the open session of the May 7th board meeting. At this time, we will go to reports and presentation, budget and finance by Mark Solomon.
Thank you, Waylon. Scott's got a question.
Yeah, Scott?
When are we gonna do the property owner's input and concern? Did we move it around?
You're right, exactly right. Mark, if you'll hold off on that report, we'll go with the property's input and concerns first. Grace?
I'm happy to proceed. Are we going to report the results of the executive session later on in the meeting?
That is at F in the under committees. We'll
Okay,
report
got it.
that.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and present 11 inputs and concerns from owners. And the first one from April 29th is from Trish Grigg. She says, "We used to love playing pool until someone went in there and moved the tables. They became unlevel. We have not been back in a while because it was shut down. Don't know when it will open again, but it would be nice if a couple of guys could put them back in place and level them. They are too heavy for us to move. Thank you."
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gregg, for your submission. The billiards room is open. Please visit the members portion of the website. Under amenities, you will find the facility door codes. We were unaware the tables had become unlevel. The staff has re-leveled the tables. We ask that the billiards tables not be moved, as it makes them unlevel and difficult to play on. So come on down and play a little pool.
Thank you. This one is from Marilyn Horn, sent on April 29th. "I have definite concern and objection about a proposed golf cart walking path cutting off a large portion of my small backyard. I have never seen or been presented with a map indicating a greenway. I have a 1994 survey completed by Michael Lacey with no indication of a land harbor easement through my backyard. When I purchased my home in 2017, I was given a map which shows no easement belonging to Land Harbor, nor are there any stakes marking a Land Harbor greenway. I have a tall hemlock hedge as a boundary of my backyard, which has been maintained, trimmed, and sprayed by all of the past homeowners, including myself, for at least 30 years. I also have an approved dog fence installed by Sean Cummings last year, costing $3,000 and meeting all board requirements for size and specifications. If this path is built, I will lose my hedge, my fence, and all privacy, since my home backs up to Goose Hollow. I purchased my home in 2017 mainly due to the privacy afforded me in my backyard. My property value will drop, and I will lose the use of my backyard as my sanctuary from the noise and traffic on Goose Hollow. I understand there's been discussion in the past of crossing over from Spruce Hollow neighborhood and using the existing golf paths through the neighborhood of Mountain View. Also, talking with residents from Spruce Hollow, there is presently an existing path from Spruce Hollow to the golf house. This survey and approval of this project by the board was done without notifying the residents affected while most of us were away from Land Harbor for the winter. This to me shows a lack of consideration and concern for Land Harbor community homeowners who pay dues to live in this beautiful community. Please consider not only my objections, but other residents who have already voiced their concerns. I sincerely hope we are notified soon and given an opportunity to meet with the board before this project is started. Thank you. Sincerely, Marilyn Horn.
Thank you, Ms. Horn, for your submission. The proposed walking path will be discussed later on in this meeting.
Thank you. The next one is from Miriam Hancock of April 29th. I would ask why people are not being required to get permits for changes to housings, or if they have them, why are they not posted in the front window as required?
Thank you, Ms. Hancock. Owners are required to obtain building permits and should have them posted on site. If you have some properties that you do not see the permits on, please contact me and we will check to make sure they are in compliance.
Okay, the next one is Patty O'Brien on April the 30th. Can you explain what account the proceeds from the sale of the land was placed and what that money can be used for?
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. The proceeds from the sale of the land will be placed in the board designated restricted reserve fund. This is accounting number 7. You can also find all of these policies on the members portion of the website. This policy is for real estate and fixed asset reserve fund for the proceeds of any sale of any real estate assets of the Linville Land Harbor Property Owners Association. It can be used to replace or improve using generally accepted accounting principle guidelines with our auditor determining that an item is an improvement in the existing Property Owners Association real estate assets, but not to repair these assets. Number 2, purchase any new real estate assets such as, but not limited to, land and buildings. Number 3, replace or improve using generally accepted accounting principle guidelines with our auditor determining that an item is an improvement and not to repair any fixed assets such as dam, wastewater treatment plant, or any other fixed asset with a useful life of at least 15 years and a prudent to POA owned land.
Thank you. Next, we have Susan Jones from April 30th. 2 issues. Number 1, we have neighbors who let their children walk their dogs and they don't pick up after them. We arrive to Land Harbor with usually 3 or 4 massive piles of poop in our driveways. Number 2, masks should be a choice now. Many people have medical reasons for not wearing one. Many are coming from Florida. Please let it be a choice. If you are afraid, you wear a mask. Please don't have a function saying masks are mandatory.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for your submission. We will continue to remind our owners and guests that they are responsible to clean up after their pets. If you know who is not taking care of the pet's waste, please contact the office with the name and any documentation that you can provide. The person will be sent a letter as a warning, and if it occurs again, they can be taken before the hearing panel, and if the panel finds them guilty, they can be fined up to $100 per day per offense. As far as the mask goes, we are under North Carolina Governor guidelines that we are following, and we are all hopeful that this will all be over in the very near future.
Thank you. Next, we have Candace Butner. Her concern is sent on April the 30th. I would like the board to revisit the idea of showing movies on the point. If you decide against this, I would like to know the reason why. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butner, for your submission. The point isn't large enough to host showing movies. We would have parking problems and other issues down there. During the summer months, it does not get dark early enough to show movies. And during the winter months, the weather is not conducive to holding an event outside. Also, we would have staffing problems as well. Thank you.
Next, we have Donald Campbell, April 30th. We have heard from several others that the HOA board is planning a dirt path and or golf path along Goose Hollow Road that would affect the rear yards of some Mountain View residents as well as their Mountain View entrance plantings. My wife and I have volunteered for several years to take care of the Mountain View entrance. That HOA property entrance was an eyesore and neglected for a number of years before we took on the task to create something colorful for our Mountain View residents to enjoy, to be proud of, and to eliminate the stigma given to it by other section residents as the worst entrance in our development. Therefore, we wish to know, how wide would this future path be? Would a new retaining wall be built to prevent erosion? Would the existing plantings be destroyed? Should we continue planting the annuals this year? Why is the board considering this path on this side of the road instead of the other side, which has less homes? Why do those sections further down the road have to cross over the winding and dangerous Goose Hollow Road to get to this proposed new path? Please let us know the answers to the questions. As it says in your communications, you are here for us.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell, for your submission. The proposed walking path will be discussed later on in this meeting. Thank you.
I've got to plug in my computer. Hold on one second. My battery's low. I apologize. Okay. The next one is Susan Moore, April 30th. Can the Meadows Gate be reopened to alleviate some of the traffic going into Newland and Linville? Highland Hills Road is probably one of the busiest roads with cars and trucks in Land Harbor. This road is so narrow that even two vehicles have trouble passing each other, and there is no room for a cart path. Many folks bike, walk, jog, walk dogs, fish, skateboard, push baby carriages, drive golf carts, and more throughout the year, and they often get run off the road by speeding vehicles. This is a serious accident waiting to happen.
Thank you, Ms. Moore, for your submission. The board voted to close off the back entrance to Linville Meadows. This would require the board to revisit this again and vote to reopen it. So I'll leave this up to the board to decide.
Thank you. Next, we have Bob Heinrich, May 1st. Concern: a year has passed without any noticeable cheap or nice improvements to lake or river trails. Poor planning not to include bridge below dam, golf cart serviceable. Poor planning not to include the bridge below the dam, golf cart serviceable. Harbor Lake Hills got shorted. You can still help them somewhat by making nice gravel path for golf cart going along Land Harbor Parkway from the present cart path across very faded white safety strips into the woods, which heads in the lake direction. This existing hiking path generally goes pretty level around the lake and exits at the shuffleboard big parking lot. This would eliminate a number of golf carts climbing through the steep part of Lakeview Drive to go to the Racket Club vicinity. Concern: read that $4,000 is earmarked for a cart path along Goose Hollow from Mountain View to Spruce Hollow. Don't know why you can't do what was proposed about 15 years ago and approved by local law, but turned down by Land Harbor law, to paint strips and post signs to go easily from lowest point of old B section directly into highest point of old A section. I know this would not help Rhododendron Loop, but you could make plans to acquire a right-of-way for carts between two property owners of Mountain View. Scott?
Yes, thank you for your submission, Mr. Heinrich. I will look at your suggestion to see if this might be feasible over in Harbor Lake Hills. And also, we relocated most of the Point Trail last year and added mulch to the trail. And I would encourage you, if you'd like to assist us and volunteer to get a trail group together to work on the trails, it would be great. And as far as the crossing that you're talking about between Spruce Hollow and Mountain View, what I have on that, the state will not allow us to have a crossing there. by foot or by golf cart. I have several letters, that go back to the early 80s. So I'm not real sure what, if that's what you're talking about being approved, but what I have from the state is that that is not an approved crossing there. Thank you.
Next, we have Connie Holmes on Monday, May 3rd. Upon receiving my annual reports from 2020, I noticed the golf financial report was not included, ? Also, I saw no report from the patio grill as to expenses versus income. Was this a planned omission or just an oversight which will be corrected? Considering it has been a couple of months, could you update me and our community? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes, for your submission. The golf financials are included in the full annual audit that is located on the members portion of the website. The annual report mailed to all owners per the North Carolina Plan Community Act states, the association shall make an annual income and expense statement and balance sheet available to all lot owners at no charge within 75 days after the close of the fiscal year to which the information relates. What is mailed to all owners is the consolidated balance sheets and statements of revenue, expenses, comprehensive income, and changes to owner's equity, comparing the current year to the previous year. The bylaws require us to have 4 independent or enterprise funds designated as the general fund, the golf fund, fishing fund, and the racket club fund. The full audit does cover all these funds. The patio grill is part of the general fund and is not a separate fund. The monthly budget analysis located on our website does show the expenses for all departments. All general fund revenue is added together. At the office, we have each department with over 65 income line items and over 300 expense line items broken down by department. If you'd like to come to the office to review these, anyone is welcome to come. If anyone would require further explanation, please call or email and Amy Holden, business manager, or myself will be happy to meet with you. Thank you.
And our final letter for today is from Noelle Williams on Tuesday, May 4th. She writes, there were repeated concerns about yard clippings being removed and the inability to get any public tentative schedule last year on Facebook. Calls placed to the manager were answered with he could not provide a schedule due to volume. I understand volume could be an issue, but a tentative one. We are already seeing piles form. Why can't the POA provide a tentative schedule so an expectation can be set? Scott?
Thank you, Noelle. Explanation of pickup procedure for brush and leaves is brush and leaves are picked up neighborhood by neighborhood on a continual rotating basis. Therefore, work orders are not required. As you stated, depending on the volume determines how quickly the staff is able to get each neighborhood picked up. Also remember, all brush is chipped in all neighborhoods. Then they come back through the complete part and pick up all the leaves. I'd ask the board for additional staff to only pick up the brush and leaves this year, and they approved this request. However, we have only been able to fill one position because no one is willing to work. We will do our best to work through each neighborhood as promptly as possible. And as far as the schedule, it's very hard to determine how soon they'll get through one neighborhood and get to another because of the amount of leaves or brush that folks put out. So I'm sorry, there's no way for us to put out a tentative schedule. Thank you.
There will be excerpts read from a letter that Ron Wigness wrote to the board recently, later in the meeting when we present the trails update. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Grace. Thank you, Scott. Reports and presentations, budget and finance, Mr. Mark Solomon.
Thank you, Waylon. The March financials are complete. That's the most complete financials we have. Total revenues through March was $2,222,132.62. That's 46.9% of the annual budget. The total expenses through March were $904,583.98 at about 18.9% of the annual budget. The April financials are not complete. However, the annual dues, including utilities, TV, internet collected through April was $3,144,569.39 of the $3,546,406 forecasted and budgeted for 2021. Initiation fees collected through April are $144,580 of the $157,500 forecasted for 2021. This winter, the POA authorized and sold the 31 acres of POA unimproved plot of land behind Bear Creek for $270,048, and which increased, there's an increase in our restricted reserves. Reserves continue to increase. As of April 30th, 2021, Linville has $4,062,000 invested in CDs in 17 banks and $60,701.31 principal in government certificates with 100% of the principal guaranteed, and then $138,615.81 in insured deposits. The 2020 audited financial statements, which Scott spoke to earlier, have been received from our auditors. The annual income and expense statements and balance sheet have been mailed to all owners. Complete audit has been posted on the Linville Land Harbor website, which you can get to as a member, and will be available for inspection at the POA office. The financial condition of Linville Land Harbor continues to be sound. Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, Mark. The next items will be committees, and we'll start with Michael Hobbs for variances.
All right, so for this meeting, we have 3 variances to review. The first one comes from Jim and Vicki McMullen at 61 Briar Road. Mr. and Mrs. McMullen are requesting a variance to construct a 6-foot by 9-foot 3-inch golf cart carport that will cause the overall footprint to exceed the 1,400 square feet by approximately 56 square feet, and will encroach 4.5 feet into the 9-foot side setback. The CDC, or the Community Development Committee, has reviewed this request and is recommending approval for the following reasons. All the surrounding neighbors, and most importantly, the affected neighbor who has the common property line of which they will encroach into the setback, have given their favorable opinions. Also, a previous variance request was approved for this carport in a different location, so the committee has recommended approval. Any questions on that variance request?
If there are no questions, we'll accept the motion to approve the variance. Jan made the motion, Tommy Oakley second. Any further discussions? All in favor of approving the motion, raise your hand. Motion carried by unanimous decision.
All right, the second variance request today comes from Dale and Barbara Marmon of 60 Hillcrest Road in Highcrest neighborhood. Mr. and Mrs. Marmon are requesting a variance to construct a 10-foot by 12-foot golf cart shed that will encroach 8 feet into the front 25-foot setback. The Community Development Committee had reviewed this request and originally voted to deny due to the proximity to the road. Currently, the house sits 17 feet from the road's edge, which is an 8-foot encroachment. And due to the steep slope nature of the property, sometime long ago when this house was built, which I cannot find any record of, there was apparently a variance granted, or either it was not granted and it was done anyway. But the house is 17 feet from the road, and the CDC said, well, if they can meet that same 17-foot setback off of the road's edge, then they would vote to approve. I went back to Mr. Marmon, asked him, if he was willing to shrink the shed or step it back 2 more feet. He was willing to step back the 2 feet, which will require the removal of a tree, which unfortunately that tree is diseased with beech bark disease anyway, so it's imminent that it will die and either fall or be removed anyway. So he chose to go with the 2-foot increased setback off of the road. The committee's approved it for that, number one, for that reason. Also, the only really affected neighbor across the street who will have a view of it has given his favorable opinion. The shed's mostly surrounded by rhododendrons, and so the CDC has recommended approval. We got any questions on that one?
If there are no questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve the variance. Mark made the motion. Need a second. Mike Boxner seconded. All in favor of approving the motion, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous decision. The variance has been approved, Michael.
All right. Okay, so the third variance request is for comes from Mr. Joe and Mrs. Janet O'Neill at 138 T-Berry Lane. They're requesting a variance to construct an 8-foot by 8-foot storage utility shed that will encroach 3 feet into the side 9-foot setback. The affected neighbors have given their approval on that one. The shed is mostly surrounded by rhododendrons. The reason that the O'Neills are requesting this is they've just made Land Harbor, their Land Harbor home, their primary residence, or their sole residence rather, and they need storage from downsizing from a much larger home. The O'Neills have the available 64 square feet necessary to accommodate the shed. They just need to encroach 3 feet into that side 9-foot setback. The CDC has reviewed this request and has recommended approval to the board for the following reasons. The neighbors given their favorable opinion with the common property line, and the rhododendron screening around the shed factored in, and the shed meets all other Land Harbor rules and regulations. Do I have any questions on this one?
If there are no questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve the variance. Bill Scaringe made the motion. Need a second. Mark Solomon second. All those in favor of the approving the variance, please indicate by raising your hand. Ruth Ann? Variance has been approved by unanimous decision. Thank you, Michael.
My pleasure. Have a nice day.
Okay, at this time, we'll have an update on the recycling ad hoc committee by Ruth Ann Alexander.
Okay. This committee was formed to promote recycling best practices and distribute information to Linville Land Harbor property owners by way of social media and our Linville Land Harbor website, publications, and possibly signs and posters. The committee, led by Kimball Fraser, this is an ad hoc committee, has distributed information through Linville Land Harbor constant contact, bulletin boards, and the harbor lights. The committee will continue community education through the summer months. POA management has seen an increase in recycling compliance due to the efforts of this committee. We appreciate the time and effort of these volunteers.
Thank you, Ruth Ann. Next will be an update on the Linville Land Harbor Unkept Properties Committee, and that will be Ruth Ann also.
Okay, in July 2020, an ad hoc committee was formed to work with the community development director to identify properties not in compliance with Linville Land Harbor Policy and Procedure R&R1. This includes properties that are unclean, unsightly, or unkept, where the property substantially decreases the beauty of the neighborhood as a whole or the specific area. The committee was led by Malcolm Kello with Ruth Ann Alexander as board liaison. Malcolm resigned because he was moving out of the area, and Ken Walter took over as president of the committee. Committee members were instructed to follow guidelines set by the CDC and the POA board. This included items such as exposed propane and kerosene tanks, trash in yard, deteriorated and unsafe porch, deck, steps, safety railings, and other structural deterioration. From June through October, grass, weeds, foliage higher than 24 inches will be noted. Committee members are not allowed to enter any owner's property. All inspection is done from curbside, except in a situation where a neighbor invites a committee member to take pictures from their property. As unkept properties are identified and information is shared with the CDC, who after review contacts owners by registered letter and follows up using the attorney-approved protocol listed in R&R1. Letters have been sent to several property owners. An additional letter, a first notice additional letter has been approved by the attorney to go to property owners who are not living on the property during the off-season. You may check the Linville Land Harbor members website to read the rules and regulations.
Thank you, Roseanne. At this time, Scott Hopkins will give us the results of the executive session.
Right. Good morning. Waylon, you want me to do the hearing panel or the hearing panel first?
However you got it there is fine, Walter, just as long as we let people know what we did.
Okay. First item of business today was the establishment of a hearing panel member because moving of other people, the board unanimously selected Steve Arnaud to be the hearing panel. This is a group that hears complaints that property owners may have against an action taken against them, such as unkempt properties or something. All right. Secondly, we had a lengthy discussion about the Racquet Club Selection Ad Hoc Committee. The following 6 people were selected, 3 from pickleball and 3 from tennis. The 3 from pickleball were Mark Nixon, Nancy Jones, Dave Bennett, and from tennis were Dan Barnett, Chris Hodges, and Bob Rickenbach. Does anyone have a question?
Thank you, Walter.
Yes, Jan?
The long-term planning committee members we added.
You get the long-term planning committee, Walter.
Let me find it. Long-term planning committee. Yes, it's here because I know who we elected. I just have to turn the page. Here we go. Long-term planning committee. Okay. We elected Diane Cunningham and Kim Wells. They were selected by the board.
Okay. Thank you, Walter. Next, we'll have the update on the Long Range Planning Committee and Jerry Daughtry. We appreciate your patience and thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Daughtry. I reside at 147 Springbrook Road in Land Harbor. The Long Range Planning Committee has been given a project of the leaf volume that we create here in Land Harbor and how to reduce the volume of leaves along with other biodegradable materials. We've looked at several pieces of equipment which are very expensive, and we're still continuing to look at some type of grinder, and there's tub grinders, and there's these, we found out about these horizontal grinders, but this is a long-term project. I mean, this piece of equipment would probably last 20 plus years. And then there's the option to lease or buy. And so we will continue to work on this leaf volume problems where we have farmers now that are taking the leaves, and but at some point in time, there's a concern that we may run out of farmers to deliver them to. I sort of just skipped this. Our committee members consists of Ken Walter, who is our secretary, Ed Bowles, Judd Chapin, Kirk Holcroft, and myself, and obviously y'all added 2 people. Another topic of discussion is the outside traffic. We've discussed several things about gates, maybe at the front and at around somewhere around the golf house, just to control traffic on the parkway. By doing so, you know, we have an ever increasing school-age children in here and going to school. It's also a controlled traffic for safety reasons. Rental property control. People have to get a code to let their renters in the controlled area. Amenities control and contractor control. Another topic that's been discussed briefly or brought up is a fitness center on campus. This has been discussed several times in the past and looked at by the previous Long Range Planning Committee, keeping in mind that we have a very nice fitness facility out at the hospital, about a hospital at the YMCA, very capable. It's only about 3 miles away. Another topic that we've discussed briefly is a sediment in the lake where the lake comes in, where the river comes into the lake. Some of this is affected by the water level being raised back to the previous water level before the dam, when the old dams were new. And one of the other things we discussed is the mature trees and foliage that are dying along the lake shore due to the water level being higher, and look at some type of live staking along the low-lying areas around the lake. One of the other things that we have to follow is Scott's 5-year long-range plan. So that's the things that we have discussed, and it's in the minutes, and that concludes my presentation at this time for long-range planning. We will continue to look at the leaf problem and keep researching some type of grinder that we feel like we can present to the board to look at possibly purchasing or leasing. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and effort. Next on our agenda is a recommended change to the golf bylaws, and that'll be addressed by Scott Carpenter.
Thank you, Waylon. Brett Bremser with the golf committee had sent us one change that they would like to have made. This change is located on page 5 of the current golf committee bylaws that are attached. It's under section 2, paragraph 2, under vice chairman. This golf committee has had problems getting an at-large member to serve as treasurer, and they would like that to now say, it shall be the duty of the vice chairman to serve in the absence of the chairman, to assist the chairman as required, and serve as the treasurer or designate any committee member to serve in this capacity. So they're wanting to do away with the words "and at large" and just make it the word "any."
Any questions for Scott? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to approve the change in the golfing bill. Did you have a question?
No, I'm making a motion to approve.
Need a second? Mark Solomon, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the change in the golfing committee bylaws, please indicate by raising your hand. That's unanimous. Thank you. Policies and procedures. Policy R&R 17, contractor equipment parking, Scott Carpenter.
We have property owners who act as their own contractor. We've had a contractor equipment policy, contractor equipment parking policy, R&R 17. And we've made recommended changes to the existing policy to include property owners acting as their own contractor to address their equipment. Do you want me to read over the changes, or is the board comfortable with what's in their packet?
Any questions on what's in your package this time? Okay. We'll entertain a motion to approve the changes to R&R 17. Mark Solomon made the motion. Tommy Oakley seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of accepting the changes to R&R 17, please indicate. That's unanimous. Thank you. The next item, Board 35, golf coupons, Scott Carpenter.
Okay, we've made recommended changes to this policy to better fit the use of our smart cards. Once again, you have this in your packet. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
If there are no questions, we will entertain a motion to approve the changes to Board 35. Bill made the
Make a
motion.
motion.
Need a second? Mark Solomon, second. Any further discussions? All those in favor of approving the changes to Board 35, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous approval. Policy for maintenance and snow removal by operations, Scott Carpenter.
Okay, once again, we've made recommended changes to this policy to better educate our members on winter conditions and our roadways. Anyone have any questions on this policy?
Scott, this one is important to our Four Seasons people. If you just discuss the highlighted areas, I appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. It's maintenance 8. First change is in number 2. The current policy says snow removal by operations will consist only of scraping with a tractor or truck and will only be that which is necessary to provide vehicular egress or ingress. The proposed addition to number 2 says emergency vehicle access is the primary goal. We've added a new number 3. We provide snow removal when and where it is feasible for staff to do so. If you're in Land Harbor during the winter months, there may be times where the staff will be unable to meet your particular scheduling issues, such as work, school, medical appointments, etc. We strongly recommend you consider all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or change for your automobiles. We've added number 4. Black ice is a particularly difficult hazard to determine and control. We will do our best to locate and treat black ice with some kind of melting treatment. Again, there are no guarantees as to the safety of these areas, and we caution our residents to use at their own risk. New number 5. It is also recommended that residents do not partake in snow activities, i.e. sledding, on our streets for safety reasons.
Any questions for Scott? We'll entertain a motion to accept the changes to maintenance 8. Mark made the motion. Mike Bochner, second. Grace, did you have a question or a second? All those in favor of accepting the changes to maintenance 8, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimously approved. Thank you, Scott. Next item will be the manager report. Scott Carpenter once again.
Thank you, Alan, and good morning, board members. Give me just a second. Okay, this is going to be our winter spring managers report, May 7th, 2021 board meeting. Sure sign of spring whenever you see our pansies planted at our front entrance sign. These will be repurposed soon when replaced with their summer plants, hopefully by late May, if Mother Nature will cooperate. During the months of October through May, our priorities change. This is the time of year that the office is busy with billing, accounts receivable, annual audit, end of year tax reports, and insurance. Golf and operations work on larger projects and heavy maintenance that we can't do during the months of May through October. The May through October season is a time that we are primarily focused on being service oriented. We have added a shelter that will be used by the patio grill when we are having events at the landing. This was something that we had planned on doing last year, but with COVID hit, we decided to hold off on this project. We did buy the material and was able to get it done this spring. This is the shelter as it is now completed. The crew painted the deck railing at the golf house this spring. This is our Highland Hills Bridge. The operations crew replaced the post that needed replacing and replaced all the other lumber. The materials were purchased last fall, early winter, and were painted during the days it was raining or too cold to work outside. This is the right side of the bridge going into Highland Hills. The bridge inspection report said 2 of the posts needed replacing. However, when the repairs were made, we ended up replacing 4 posts on the right-hand side, and once again replaced all the other lumber. Excuse me. And this is the right-hand side of the bridge once it was completed. This is the left-hand side. The bridge inspection report said 4 of the posts here needed to be replaced. However, when the repairs were made, we ended up replacing 7 posts on this side. And this is how it looks once it was completed. The Racket Club needed the sprinkler heads relocated on the upper 4 clay courts and 1 on the lower 3 courts because of them being a trip hazard. This had to be done before the reconditioning this year. There were 2 sprinkler heads at each court that were capped off and moved to the middle of the courts next to the net post. The new black post in the center of this picture is where the new sprinkler head is now located at all these courts. We had 2 water leaks in Spruce Hollow in the winter. That was the responsibility of the POA. The first one was located right beside the pavement. The fitting on the right shows where the leak was located at the end cap. This is the second one that was in the roadway. Again, the fitting shows where the leak was at. Doesn't take a very small hole to make a lot of water. Well number 4 that is located on 221 behind Louisville Central Rescue Squad also gave us a nice leak. The picture on the left is the fitting that was leaking. As you can see, it was a large leak. While the pump was turned off for this repair, we replaced all the fittings on the inside of the building for the pump. We had a sewer line break on the number 15T on a cold late fall day. You will see this T repaired in the golf maintenance portion of this report later. The dog park folks needed assistance with some drainage issues at the dog park located at Overlook Park. The staff installed several French drains and installed some brick pavers. These pictures show the crew installing the new brick pavers. After laying some sod and overseeding the area, I asked them to close the dog park for 2 weeks so the grass would have time to get started. This is the finished product. The dog park group paid for all the materials and POA provided the labor in this project. We budgeted to replace our electric grill and French fry machine with propane appliances at the patio grill. After Blue Ridge Propane came out and installed the tanks, our crew screened in the tanks. Unfortunately, we found rotting wood on the deck area in the front of the beach pergola this spring. This deck was built only 7 years ago. Once we found these places, we checked different areas and decided it must be removed. This is just a picture of once the deck was removed from in front of the pergola. The guys put their heads together to come up with a new plan for this area. Since the treated lumber didn't hold up, it was decided to go with a different plan altogether. So what the guys came up with, we bought large boulders to hold the sand back. You can see in the picture here, we had several loads of sand brought in, filled in the area, and there's at least 3 different areas that you can walk through the rocks. You can see the sand there to get out to the water. But I think it turned out very nice. The white pines along Land Harbor Parkway and the golf course had several dead or dying low branches. The crew jumped in and removed these to make this area look 100% better. I hope that maybe you guys have noticed that. These are the new gas appliances at the patio grill. The flat top is 12 inches larger, giving us more cooking area that will help speed up wait times. Also, the deep fryer will stay temperature regulated now that it's gas, and it has a larger frying capacity, and this should assist in wait times as well. Since our milkshakes are so popular, we purchased a double spindle machine. The one we had before was a single machine, and we can only, of course, make one at a time. This will enable us to make 2 milkshakes at once instead of just one like before. Again, this should help reduce wait times and speed up the process. Friday nights at the patio grill are coming back, and we're really excited about that. Friday nights at the patio grill, we're excited to be able to have these back. Make plans now to join us on Friday, May 21st for our first event. King Bees will be our entertainment from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. We'll be serving up our full menu, or you may choose a burger or hot dog cooked outside on the grill. Also, the watering hole will be on site, offering your favorite cold beverage. Make plans to join us on Friday, May 28th. Woody and the String Pullers will be our entertainment from 5 until 8. Once again, we'll be serving up our full menu, or you can choose a burger or a hot dog cooked outside on the grill. And the watering hole will be there for your favorite cold beverage. The next Friday is June 4th, and Ed Main will be there from 5 until 8. And Patio Grill will be there to meet your hunger and thirst needs. Okay, this is the number 15T that you saw in my report a few slides ago. As you can see, there's been sod planted where the sewer line repair had to occur. And this is a picture once all the sod was replaced and started growing back. Michael and Richard removed the carpet outside the golf shop area and painted the concrete instead of replacing it with carpet. I think this project turned out very well. The wall along number 10 needed some major attention. The golf course crew removed the old cross ties and replaced with these decorative concrete blocks. Opening day for our pool is scheduled for Saturday, May 29th, and hopefully we will not have any restrictions on capacity this year. Wanted to remind everyone that Avery County and the Avery County Health Department will roll out the county's mobile clinics for the next rounds of first dose COVID-19 vaccines. They're going to be here at Land Harbor from 9 until 12 at the Recreation Complex on Thursday, May 20th. These clinics are available for anyone 18 and older. I want to remind everybody this is open to the public. Appointments are necessary. If you want to schedule an appointment, please call the Avery County Vaccine Call Center at 828-733-8273 to make your appointment. Just remember the POA office nor the recreation manager can make this appointment for you. The call center will be open from 9 to 4, Monday through Thursday. We'll be having a Memorial Day service on Monday, May 31st. It will begin at 10 a.m. at the landing. We are happy to announce that the Land Harbor Concert Band will be there to play God Bless America, God of Our Fathers in America, as well as 2 trumpeters to do a moving echo version of Taps. President Ed Bowles will be leading us again this year, so please make plans to attend. Last year, with the help of Ruth Ann Alexander and a few other board members, we organized volunteers to assist us in planting live stakes along the riverbank in Little Meadows to help stop erosion. This is a few of the volunteers who helped last year preparing the stakes to be planted. And this is after we planted some of the stakes last year. As you see, they just looks like a stick stuck in the ground. I walked some of the river last week to check on the live stakes, and it appears we've had success. You will notice the new growth on the stakes in these pictures. You can see the new growth and also some of the leaves coming out. I put out a notice earlier this year about Mountain Electric and their contractor, Lee Electric, being in Land Harbor to replace some old outdated transformers. Residents will experience some power outages in areas where these are being replaced. This is a picture of a location that will be getting a new transformer. You can see the old one in place and then the green one that will be replacing it. And this is, once it's been replaced, a picture of that. And that's all I've got today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Very active winter. The next item will be unfinished business. The board also had a fairly active winter, and I'll ask Walter Scott Hopkins to read the board polls that were taken.
Thank you, Waylon. I will read the following board polls and give you the results. Number 1, approval of the 2021 Racket Club fee sheet dated November 3rd, 2020. Number 2, approval of October regular meeting minutes dated November the 3rd, 2020. Number 3, approve of Personnel 22 policy dated November the 12th, 2020. Number 4, approval of $4,000 for a footpath dated November the 12th, 2020. Number 5, approval of county committee for December 15th, 2020, LLH sale of property dated November the 16th, 2020. Number 6, approval of 305 River Hollow Road variance request dated December the 22nd, 2020. Number 7, approval of 518 Winwich Road variance request dated December the 2nd, 2020. Approval of appraisal by Hope Teaster Appraisals Incorporated on the 30.4 acres dated December 21st, 2020. Approval of adding 3 members to the Long-Term Planning Committee dated January 5th, 2021. Approval of, number 10 is approval of the Racket Club Committee is requested to remove the social news for 2021 dated January 25th, 2021. Number 11, approval of updated golf shop manager's job description dated February 19th, 2021. Number 12, approval of 33 Pine Valley Road variance request dated March 12th, 2021. 13, approval of temporary facilities reservation policy dated March 25th, 2021. Number 14, approval of revised R&R 32 swimming pool policy dated April 19th, 2021. Number 15, approval of R&R 48 identification requirements policy 2021 dated April 20th, 2021. 16, approval of special board meeting minutes March 9th and March 10th, 2021 dated April 16th, 2021. All 16 of these board polls were approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Next item, as promised, will be a discussion by Grace with her presentation on the footpath from Goose Hollow to Thornwood Loop. Grace? I'm sorry, Jan, you have a question?
I have a question that actually goes back to what Scott Carpenter was talking about a minute ago when he showed the beach and the reconstruction on the beach. Would this be a time to ask a question or put that off for another meeting? It has to do with the train that sits there and the fact that the last time I was down there, there were a lot of exposed nails and hazards on that piece. And I'm wondering if that's been addressed. The grandkids will be flooding the area soon.
Jan, I'll have the guys take a look at it.
Okay. One of the most popular things they did at that beach was a pile of sand, but leave that up to you. Thank you.
Grace?
Thank you. I'll be presenting a timeline dating back to September 2018 today. And that timeline I have requested to be entered into the minutes. I have sent that by email this morning to Susan and Scott and the board. So, but I want to introduce just for a few moments what this is all about. Walking paths in Land Harbor, as everyone knows, are part of the charter of Land Harbor as for enjoyment of all members. And there is a policy, R&R 28, that preserves the Land Harbor Greenway for the use of the common good and not to be infringed upon by individual members. And those of you who follow the board actions over several years have seen instances where green space has been considered for usage and other items of business. We've also had several meetings with discussions of trails. There are many members in Land Harbor that have an interest in trails, and those of you who live along a trail know that people will walk along right behind your house or in front of your house, especially if you live in the meadows or along the lake or the river. Concern came up this winter when surveys were ongoing along Goose Hollow Road for a possible footpath, and I'll go into detail in that in a moment. And I want to start by apologizing to our membership for any part I may have had in not being sure that communication was well open of what was going on along there. An approval was made to survey an area on Goose Hollow Road several months ago, and it took several months for the Lacey Realty to actually start. Once they did, I think we could have all done a better job of notifying members that property lines were being marked along Goose Hollow Road, and that created a large and understandable concern among members. So any part I had in this, I greatly apologize, and I think the board can take be sure that that doesn't happen again. And I want to give a tribute to Ruth Ann for when she started on the board, her first meeting, she was very concerned about communication, and I applaud her efforts and those of many others on the board, and Scott for and Josh for marked improvements in communication over the years, but we can always do a lot better. I wanted to read some excerpts from Ron Wigna's letter to the board on May 3rd, and he gave me permission to share this. He, this Dear POA board, this note is, and he lives on 1840 Goose Hollow Road. This note is to offer a few comments about the proposed walking path along Goose Hollow Road and several other topics. To begin with, I will state I'm not yet completely decided as to whether I support a path or are opposed. There's just not enough information yet. I've not seen a design. These things concern me, and it's best to wait for finalized proposal. My primary concern is communication, or more to the point, a lack of appropriate communication. And he goes on to give examples of where we could do better with our communication, which I totally understand, and he's correct. He was concerned about the unannounced strangers in his yard, which were the survey crew, and that it could have resulted in a call to the special police or worse. He was also concerned that any proposed path could impact property owner values either up or down, and wants to be sure that there is no negative impact. So I just wanted to let the people know that are listening and to this, that the board receives letters from time to time. We greatly appreciate it, and certainly want to do our best possible job fiscally and responsibly for all of you. So I will start with the timeline now that I'd like to be entered into the minutes. Several people from the members from the community have helped and volunteered to work with this, although there's not been a formal ad hoc committee yet or any formal adoption of any type of master plan. This has been a grassroots effort with our general manager, help of an engineering company, members, help from the fishing committee in particular. So this is the summary of board action and progress for Land Harbor footpaths and trails from September 7, 2018 through May 7, 2021. August 7, 2018, the September regular board meeting, motions approved were a feasibility study for Linville Land Harbor trails. Number 2, a survey of owners to be sent with the 2019 annual assessment bill for interest in footpaths. Number 3, a proposal to study the feasibility of converting the Lake Sewer Line Trail to a hard surface combination of golf cart and designated walking path for $31,200 to be funded with initiation fees. During 2018 and 2019, several Linville Land Harbor members, board members, POA staff spent time reviewing points of interest, connectivity, and possible locations for new footpaths. McGill Engineering was familiar with Linville Land Harbor due to prior help with environmental studies for the dam replacement, and helped with this trail feasibility project for a cost of $13,000. Linville Land Harbor developed a survey that was included with the 2019 billing notices to be returned by March 31, 2019. There were 387 respondents to the survey, approximately 27% of members, with an average age of 68.2 years old. 81.4% of the respondents used the walking paths frequently or regularly. The strongest positive replies, average score for fitness, recreation, benches, and trail markers, as well as 61% very or somewhat interested in hard surface trails separated from roads and golf cart paths. There were also many additional comments in favor of keeping any trails in their natural state rather than paving them. At the May 2019 regular board meeting, there was approval of $43,021 to replace the footbridge over the Linville River that had previously washed out below the dam, which restored connectivity for a complete loop for the lake trail. The actual cost of the project was $39,120. On August the 2nd, 2019, an update was provided at the August 2019 regular board meeting. At the October 2019 regular board meeting, $5,000 was approved for improvement of the trail between the point and the Recreation Center and POA office. Only approximately $1,000 was spent using Land Harbor staff and mostly existing materials for building a footbridge over a wet area at the children's pond, inserting a culvert in a drainage area, trimming rhododendron bushes, rerouting a small portion of the trail to avoid the exposed roots at the water's edge, and laying natural mulch. In January 2020, McGill Engineering completed the review and provided ideas as a draft, including items used in greenway paths in other communities, as well as rough cost estimates for trail development. To follow up that original 2018 board request to see if $31,200 would be feasible to convert the lake trail to an asphalt golf cart path, McGill Engineering estimated a turnkey cost of $382,800. There are no motions to proceed with such a large project to date, and the members and staff working on the topic noted potential for adverse impact on the sensitive environmental area, watershed, sewer line, and other factors. McGill Engineering suggested the green space along Goose Hollow Road could be used for a footpath to connect Yarrow Loop with the area of the patio grill. The golf course side of the road was ruled out due to the proximity of golf course play and steep drop-offs. Cost could be greatly controlled due to no need for grading or paving and for using a mulch surface. Another area identified by McGill Engineering is a small green area beside the Highland Hills Bridge that could be amenable for disabled access. Other considerations include signage, crosswalks, footbridges, benches, and educational features. In October 2020, at the regular board meeting, an update was provided to the board. Then on November 12, 2020, a board poll approved $4,000 for the purpose of a land survey of the Land Harbor Green area between Thornwood Loop and Yarrow Loop to determine private property lines. Following the survey results, Scott Carpenter planned to meet with representatives from the North Carolina Department of Transportation for discussion of a footpath in the green space. Early in 2021, the Land Harbor property line along Goose Hollow Road between Thornwood Loop and the border of Linville Land Harbor below Yarrow Loop was surveyed for a sum of $3,300. The completed survey was provided to Scott Carpenter in March of this year, 2021. The Land Harbor commonly owned green area was marked, averaging about 23 to 25 feet wide between the edge of the road and the rear property lines of Linville Land Harbor members. On April 13, 2021, representatives from the North Carolina Department of Transportation viewed the Land Harbor green space along Goose Hollow Road and determined that a walking path was feasible and right-of-way encroachment within 16 feet of the road could be considered for their approval. However, due to sight lines a designated crosswalk between Yarrow Loop and the entrance to Spruce Hollow would not be approved. On May 7, 2021, as we're here today, I'm presenting this background, and I would like to make a motion. My motion is to table a survey of member interest for a footpath along Goose Hollow Road due to the Department of Transportation does not approve a marked crosswalk at the Spruce Hollow entrance. My next comment before Waylon asks for second to the motion, what is next? Ideas for the future. If there is a potential for modification to Goose Hollow Road with improved sightlines, future boards may relook at a survey of members to see if a significant number would use the green area for a footpath. Continue to look for other areas in Linville Land Harbor for new or upgraded footpaths or golf cart paths. Consider asking for input from the Long Range Planning Committee. Consider communications with the North Carolina Department of Transportation to be apprised of any plans for road or intersection upgrades. Consider an updated survey of members to gauge an interest in trails. The Linville Land Harbor Charter includes footpaths as a feature. Per R&R 28, green space cannot be infringed on except for the overriding benefit of the whole of Linville Land Harbor. Hopefully, these areas can be used in the future to help improve pedestrian opportunities for Linville Land Harbor. Signed, myself. So back to my motion is to table a plan for a survey of member interest for a footpath along Goose Hollow Road due to the Department of Transportation does not approve a marked crosswalk at the Spruce Hollow entrance.
Grace has made the motion. Do we have a second for that motion? Mark Solomon, second. Any further discussions? I would like to thank Grace for a very thorough report and update. I'm sure that not only board members, but the whole community appreciates that, Grace. Mike, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'm new to this whole concept. I wasn't around for it. And basically, I mean, it seems a little funny to me that we're spending money to find out that the projects are unfeasible. And it just seems to me like we could do this a little more, could do this better if we would just jump on some questions and get with experts before we spend money. So we spent $13,000 on this trail deal to find out from McGill Engineering that a turnkey path connecting the dam and all the rest of it would be $382,800. I mean, holy crap. I mean, I could have told you that. That's just, we're throwing money away. The other thing with the Spruce Hollow walkway, why couldn't someone get on the phone and talk with the Department of Transportation and ask them whether they would allow us to have that crosswalk before we spent, well, we okayed 4,000 and we spent 3,300 to find out we can't do it. Something's wrong with this picture. That's my input.
Thank you, Mike. Jan?
And I'm wondering as well if we have measured the difference in distance between the walking path along Goose Hollow and people wanting to leave A section, the old A section, and walk up through Mountain View to get to the patio grill. Doesn't seem like that would be a big savings in walking distance, and that's a relatively safe, as safe as you're going to get, walking area.
With Grace's presentation, she addressed the concerns that we could look forward in the future, and that would be one of them, to come up with alternate solutions to providing a safe passage from our Spruce Hollow residents to the patio grill area. That's definitely something we can look at. And Grace has some great ideas and very thorough background on that whole process. You wanted to comment, Grace?
Yeah, Mike, your point about money is very well taken. And in 2018, there was great interest in being able to drive a golf cart an alternate way to Overlook Park. And this was added in as part of a look at trails. There were considerations for whether we could do disabled access for crossing the bridges. If you notice, Highland Hills Bridge and the Linville Land Harbor Bridge have sidewalks that have a ledge to get up on. We looked at trying to put a wide enough path so a wheelchair could be there. And because of the survey that showed an interest in trails, this is why this was done. And also, if you look in comparison to municipalities that have master plans for trails, perhaps that would be something that Land Harbor would want to look for in the future. The dollar expenditure is much higher. Most municipalities have bonds with millions of dollars spent, which that was not the intent here. It was really a grassroots effort to get started on something to make Land Harbor more walkable.
Any more discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of tabling the proposal for surveyor membership until a later date, please indicate by raising your hand. As carried unanimously, the motion has been approved. Okay, under new business. A, create an ad hoc committee to negotiate the Spectrum contract. Grace, you want to address that?
Yes, I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to read a draft charter for this, but the Spectrum contract has, and Scott may want to explain, Scott Carpenter may want to explain, is coming up for renewal. There are 1-year extensions built into the contract, but that cycle will be ending in the near future. And we were interested, if the board agrees, to get started on a group that would consist of staff members such as our IT personnel, general manager, and others, and board, and as well as members at large, representatives, to share what interests and desires Land Harbor would have for the next contract. Does Scott Carpenter want to update any information?
Sure. Our current contract ends December 31st of this year. And like Grace said, unless either party decides not to continue, you have to give a 90-day notice. But if both parties agree, it can be continued on for another year and can be continued on for another year if need be. But it's probably a good idea to go ahead and set up an ad hoc committee and get started on this.
And there's also and confirm is through Scott that there's a 3% increase written into the contract that will take effect on the extension if it's granted in December.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The current contract says it can go up to 3% each year.
Any questions? Bill?
Yeah, Scott, do you or your staff have any recommended changes or problems you're having with the current contract?
We don't. Of course, just like our owners, sometimes their call centers are not the best. But, whenever we looked at this before, Charter is basically the only game in town for Spectrum. We spoke with Skyline Telephone, which is out of Bosco, Boone area. They do have service in Van Relk. And I think, if I remember correctly, in order for them to run their lines down to our entrance, it's going to cost Land Harbor about $200,000. So that's why we're still with Spectrum or Charter.
Well, I'd say I've been really very pleased with their services. And frankly, if you don't have any great issues to deal with, I don't see a need to have a committee. I hate committees when we don't need them. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's one of the things we discussed, Bill, is that October 1st is the deadline as to whether or not Charter will extend us that 1 year period for their services under the present contract. If they do not extend that 1 year period, then we need to have a committee in place to negotiate with them what the new contract will look like. So the question was whether or not to form a committee now or in July or August. So when the October 1st date rolls around, we'll be ready to negotiate if they refuse to give us that extension.
Well, do we need a committee? Isn't it a staff responsibility to do and come to the board with a recommendation? Why do we need a committee? That's my problem. I think we have a very capable staff, and Scott's very capable in this area. I don't see any reason for a committee. I think let Scott do the negotiations and changes he needs, and then come to the board and make a recommendation. That I am, as you'll know, if you learn or know me for a while, I hate committees.
That's one way of doing it. I mean, it's up to the board to decide whether or not we want the committee or whether we want Scott and his people to handle it. Scott, do you have a preference there or a suggestion?
I'm okay with it either way, whatever the board decides.
Thank you, sir. Jan?
The only reason I would see for a committee is so that we don't miss something. For example, we've got some really unique needs at Land Harbor that other cable companies wouldn't address probably. And the major one I can see is those of us who go away and put our service on hold for 6 months to come back and have it renewed. So you don't want to accidentally miss those kinds of, or have them just negotiated out of the contract without us being able to speak out about it.
Yeah, the only thing that could be put on hold is your own private contract with, or your account with Charter. As far as the services to the home, that's part of the bulk packages. That cannot be put on hold. Ruth Ann?
I believe, and Scott, you can correct me on this, that based on Land Harbor's charters or bylaws, the POA has to provide cable to the owners. So, because I will be honest, one of my concerns has been that everything is changing, and a lot of people that we know don't even have cable anymore. They use internet, and the way that we're getting our television has really changed. I think it was a good idea to have a committee to get ideas from the community to find out what they want. Just like Jan said, I know some people have talked about the fact that they can put it on hold. On the other hand, when I was checking the difference in prices, if you get cable from, like, if you don't live in Land Harbor and you have to pay for Spectrum, Scott, you can also probably address this. The price, what we're paying per month, is unbelievably low compared to what you have to pay outside of Land Harbor. But I do think it would be a good idea to have a committee to get feedback from the owners on what they want.
Mike Meister?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Bill on this. there's no competition, there's nothing there. And I would trust our management to negotiate this thing and let us know if there's any changes. Now, in retrospect, if we really needed a committee to shop a contract, boy, we really needed it on that insurance. That was a real blow. And I think we need better communication when things go out of whack like that. And being in the business, I know that insurance agents will do that to you. Walk in the day the policies due and nail you with underwriting and higher rates. So in comparison, we really needed the committee on that in that regard. And in this instance, I think we can just depend on management to do their job.
Mark?
Just to put it in perspective, when we did all the calculations in this last year, we're paying about $28.50 thereabouts per month each member, which is incorporated in your fee structure for your POA dues. So if you're looking at a 3% increase, you're dealing with something that's going to be like $10.50 a year. It's still tremendously inexpensive. If my Spectrum down here in Florida cost me about $120 for the same kind of service, the internet and the cables. So we have a tremendous bargain here. And to your point, Scott, we don't have many options. It's kind of, they're the only game in town. So it's probably something that can be negotiated maybe without a committee. Taking the other side of that coin is involving some members at large with looking at that would just give them more insight into the deal that we have and make sure that we're contemporary with what the needs of our community are. So that's just a thought, but we could do that with a survey.
Okay, all good comments, all good opinions. The order of business was to create an ad hoc committee. In order to do so, we had to have a motion. Is there a motion out there to create this committee? Grace? You making the motion? I need a second to create the committee. Mark Solomon has seconded. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, we need a show of hands to approve the creation of an ad hoc committee to negotiate the Spectrum contract. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor of creating. All those opposed? 1, 2. The motion is carried. We will create an ad hoc committee to negotiate the Spectrum contract. We have a charter for that committee that needs to be approved. Grace?
I move to approve the proposed charter.
Do we have a second? Walter has seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor of approving the charter for the committee to negotiate Spectrum contract, please raise your hands. Looks like 6. All those opposed? That's 2. The charter has been approved. The next item of business will be the fishing committee requires 2 new members. Tommy Oakley has that honor.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, everybody. The fishing committee now has a full membership with the addition of Jeff Gerard and Nick Hamner within the last couple of weeks. gives them 30 voting members and 5 associates. The committee also would like to let everyone know that we'll be enforcing the rule, which is stated on the fishing license by where the property owner signs. The property owner needs to be with guest renters or have a letter on file to purchase a fishing license from Linville Land Harbor. Ask that the board needs to put this out in the Harbor Lights monthly calendar and on the Linville Land Harbor Facebook page. Also, they will be looking at the number of guests allowed daily and monthly per member to help try and determine the possibility of limiting those numbers in the future. Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the 2 new members to the fishing committee. Jan made the motion. Need a second to approve. Walter, seconded. Any further discussion? No further discussion. The names submitted by Tommy will be added to the fishing committee membership roll. And the last item for today is the landing reservation policy for Scott Carpenter.
Thank you, Waylon. Michelle and I would like to request that the board of directors allow larger Land Harbor clubs like the Racket Club, Saturday Night Dance, Fishing, etc., be allowed to reserve the landing for 2021. Per current policy R&R 43, only weddings may be reserved at the landing. No individual reservations will be made on the day before, the day of, and the day after the following holidays: Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor Day, as these areas are set aside for general use by all of our members. Although there is hope that most restrictions will be lifted, many of our groups are still leery of a large crowd inside. Allowing use of the landing will give flexibility in planning and more space to socially distance. Also, since many groups are postponing their activities or moving outdoors, we also request that the board allow regularly scheduled activities to secure 2022 dates more than the maximum year in advance. This request will expire on December 31st, 2021. I appreciate your consideration.
Any questions for Scott? Okay, I need a motion to adjust the reservation policy for the landing. Bill made the motion. Mark, second. Any discussion? No discussion. I need a show of hands to approve the motion. Unanimously approved, Scott.
Thank you.
That concludes all the business we had scheduled for today on the agenda. I want to make 2 comments if I can before we close. One is I really appreciate all the time, the diligence, the hard work that all these board members have given over the past 6 or 7 months and will continue to give through the summer, I'm sure. Looks like it's going to be a busy summer. And I would also like to reiterate what Grace said earlier, that communications to our membership is extremely important to all of our board members. And we concede that we dropped the ball on communicating on the path issue. And we, per suggestion by Ron, it will be part of our formal process on future projects to consider any impact it might have on property owners in that area. Once again, I thank you very much, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Nobody wants to quit. Walter made a motion. Mark seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.